Okay, let's start with GPA. Priority consideration to UCLA. That is where that plaque is from. Missed out on a lot of things. I'd never trust a counselor. Graduated debt-free. I don't want people to be scared because they think they can't do it. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a cozy Q&A answering very commonly asked community college questions I get. I compiled this list of questions from my DMs on Instagram, TikTok, and lots of comments and my Instagram story where I asked you guys to ask questions. So I have a lot to get through, but I did pick and choose the common questions. So I have a few videos about community college already. I honestly think I've shared all the advice I can on the internet, but I still get a lot of questions. Let's start. These are my questions. What are your thoughts about me? I think that's important. Hello, I'm Jessica. I went to community college for 2 years. I transferred to UCLA where I spent another 2 years, and then I am currently working as a software engineer at AWS. At community college, I studied computer science, but I did enough physics and math courses that I qualified for associate degrees for CS, math, and physics. And then I transferred to UCLA for math and computation, which is a major that combines both elements of math and computer science, but mostly math. Honestly, it was difficult. I've been working for about 1.5 years now, and I am 23 years old. That is enough about me. Let's start answering questions. Okay, so I got some questions from people about out of state, but I cannot answer those because I am not an out of state student. I am a California resident, and unfortunately, I can't give you guys specific advice because I have never been in your shoes. So not everything in this video will be applicable to you, but I still think that you guys will be able to find some value. Yeah, just a little disclaimer. Okay, so the first few questions ask about my stats, extracurriculars, essays, etc. So let's go through that quickly first. I have my application on a Google Doc, so let me pull that up. Okay, let's start with GPA. I applied with a 3.97. I got an A- in physics, and my final cumulative GPA by the time I transferred was a 3.91. So the schools I got into are Davis for computer science, Irvine for computer science with Regent scholarship, Berkeley for applied math, UCLA for math of comp, USC for applied and computational math, and I was rejected from UC Santa Barbara for computer science and Stanford for math and computational science. Moving on to extracurriculars. Okay, so there's like different categories on the UC application, so I'm just going to go in that order. For educational prep programs, first one is honors transfer program, which is a program that grants you priority consideration to UCLA, only to the College of Letters and Sciences though, which is why I ended up applying as a math of comp major. I had to do some honors projects for HTP, so I also ended up writing about that on my application. So that's the first one. I also did UCLA TAP, which is exactly what I was just talking about. It's linked with honors transfer program. So if you finish honors transfer program, you get priority consideration to UCLA through UCLA TAP. The third one is MESA. It is basically a space for STEM students to work together. I wasn't that involved, but I was in it. So under work experience, I worked at JCPenney my first semester of community college. I only worked there for 1 semester. The second one was my college's marketing office. So the job title is student assistant, but I was a graphic designer and a video editor. And I was the only video editor in that office. No one edited videos except for me. So on my application, I put head video editor, because it's true. It sounds better in the description than just student assistant. And the last one is YouTube content creators. This one I didn't talk about DBY Jessica. I talked about my original channel on YouTube, which is Daydreamer, where I edited GOT7 and K-pop crack videos. That is where that plaque is from. That channel means so much to me, and obviously I had to write it down. I also quantified my achievements where I could. I wrote like the total number of views I had, the subscribers I had. Moving on to extracurricular activities. So the first one is Honors Transfer Club. So that's the club that goes with Honor Transfer Program. First year I was the Commissioner of Media and PR. So I joined because people told me to join, but I became an officer because of that position. When I was in high school, I held some officer positions that had to do with being historian or taking pictures or making videos and designing stuff. So I love doing that type of stuff. So that is why. And then I ended up being president in my second year. The second one is a dance program. I was pretty heavily involved. For the description, I put student choreographer and dancer in biannual show, choreograph, arrange dance pieces per semester, and audition and teach my peers choreography. I elaborated a bit more, but it's like a lot to read out loud. Basically, I got to teach my classmates and they got to teach me back, and then I had to do formations and clear their dances, and we got to perform it at a show at the end of every semester. It was officially not a club, It was actually a class that I took every single semester. It was worth like half a unit to 1 unit. It was pretty much an extracurricular. I didn't consider it as a class. It was just for fun thing. I didn't need the credits either. So WISER, which stands for Women in Science and Engineering Represent, honestly edited one video for them. I really like that video, but they kept calling me unofficial historian, so I just put that on my application. I don't even think they had a historian, but I put it on my application because I did do work for them and it was fun. Yeah, they were very sweet and called me historian. I also did some volunteer work as a part of honors, and then had a couple of scholarships that were given to me directly through the community college district that I was in. So I actually completely forgot about this until I just read it, but community college districts have their own scholarships, so make sure you apply to all of them. I don't remember when they come out. If you just talk to people, ask some professors or counselors, they should know. Okay, we're going to talk about essays. This is so boring. We're just going through stats, but whatever. I've already gone through this in different videos, but again, this is just an update for people who are new. So we'll quickly go through the essays. First question is about my major. I honestly didn't do any CS related extracurricular activities, but I did do projects, did honors projects, and I did class projects. So those are the projects that I talked about. I did a research project for my Calc 3 class, and then I did a project for my C++ class, and then I had like a group project for my data structure class. It was honestly pretty basic, but I had to make the most of what I had because I didn't have much. Honestly, it's not a very strong essay, but the rest of my essays are pretty strong. So moving on. What would you say is your greatest talent or skill? How have you developed and demonstrated that talent over time? So this one I talked about how I had to balance a lot on my plate when I was in community college, but how I was very good at balancing things, because it's different from having a lot on your plate and not being able to balance it all, like me in high school, versus having a select few things you're passionate about and being able to balance those things really well and be involved in all of those things. For reference, I'm going to read the first paragraph. It says, "A glimpse into spring 2019, I had a physics test, multiple calculus tests, and the college's biannual dance show all during the same week. I balanced half of my gap period studying in the STEM Center and attending tutoring sessions, and the other half in the green room tweaking my peers' execution of choreographies while adjusting lighting and positioning on stage." And then I basically talked about how I learned dance by myself, how I'm self-taught, and how I ended up teaching other people who are very new to dance and had no idea how to dance. So I also snuck in, like, I really like helping people and seeing other people grow in the same way that I did. That is how I answer that question. Describe how you've taken advantage of a significant educational opportunity or worked to overcome an educational barrier you have faced. I talked about failing trig in high school. I still don't get trig, even though I graduated from UCLA with a math degree. Trig doesn't make any sense to me. It wasn't just trig, actually. I failed the trig pre-calc class in high school because it was like a combined class. So that's pretty bad. But I wanted to write about this because I thought it could be really strong if I worded it correctly. It was kind of risky, but I think it turned out really well. I really love this essay. I basically talked about how I failed, but along the way, things just began to click in my head. I learned how to study, specifically math, and how to problem solve properly, and how I ended up getting all A's in my math classes in community college. I also snuck in a little analogy that I want to share. I'm going to read like one paragraph from each essay. This is the second to last paragraph, but it says, "The average student learns at a constant rate, and on a graph, it would appear as an increasing linear line. I realized that my line is different. I learned slowly but exponentially. These two lines eventually crossed, and before this point, I unfortunately struggle more than the typical student. However, my growing self-awareness in the way I learned has revealed my perseverance in education and especially mathematics." I really like that analogy because I still think it's true. I think I suck at things when I first started, but eventually I get really good at it, and that's just how I learn. I've accepted that. So the last one, it says, "Describe the most significant challenge you have faced and the steps you have taken to overcome this challenge. How has this challenge affected your academic achievement?" This story is pretty personal, and it's honestly very traumatic to think about even now. It's been like 8 years. I wrote about something that happened my sophomore year in high school, but I pretty much wrote about how editing videos and doing YouTube changed the trajectory of my life and how I learned from all of this. And I'm going to read the second to last paragraph because it's my favorite paragraph. I actually wrote this on my high school UC application too, but I just worded it a little bit differently and made it sound much better, and also included my more current growth instead of, obviously the ones from high school. 100,000 people enough to sell stadiums, the number of supporters I have on YouTube, and the reason why I vow to create until the day I die. This experience plummeted my high school GPA and mental health, but only through this I have shown growth. I found and took up opportunities wholeheartedly. So you can kind of imagine what I wrote about. Okay, that's all the essays. Okay, we've covered my entire application now, so let's move on. So a couple people asked me about what is the most important thing that they look for from transfer applicants and what helped my personal application. This is a difficult question to answer because I don't know either. I was just guessing and trying to maximize my chances, but if I had to guess, it would be GPA first. I think GPA is the most important because I think if your GPA is low enough, they won't even look at your application because GPA is just a bar. It's like the only statistic you can really look at, unfortunately, because your GPA does not define you as a student, but I think that's just how it is and you have to play that game. Always try to maximize your GPA by choosing good professors. Look on Rate My Professors, and don't be afraid to ask your professor to round up if you're borderline on a grade. I did it once or twice when I was at community college, and I think in general, community college professors understand that you're there to transfer and that you need a good GPA for that, and so don't be afraid to do that if you're borderline. Obviously, don't ask for an A if you're like at 70%, but you get it. For my personal application, I also think it's because I really got involved for everything that I did, and I like to think I achieved a lot in everything I did. So for example, with honors, I became president, and then with dance, I was involved every single semester. I was very consistent, and even my job, I worked in something that I was really passionate about. I feel like all of that reflected on my essays and my application, so that is what I personally think. That is also what I recommend to community college students. Find just a few things that you enjoy. You don't even have to be passionate about it. Like, you can just enjoy it because you have friends in it, and that's good enough. It shows if you are just doing things for your application. I just dropped my phone. Should I go to community college and transfer, or should I go to whatever college they got into? I feel like I should create a flowchart for this or something. I didn't get into any school of my choice when I was in high school, which made it very easy to choose community college because I didn't have much to risk. I think it's different if you got into a school that you're okay with already and don't mind going to. So you have to weigh the risks. There is a risk to going to community college. There is a risk that you will take longer than you think. There's a risk that you don't get into the colleges that you wanted to get into and have to end up going to the same college that you got into when you're in high school, except now you're just doing it 2 years later. You have to do your own research. What I recommend is going on assist.org, put in your major, look at every single college that you might apply to, write down all the transferable courses for your major for all of those schools, and use that as your master list when you're planning out your schedule. You should plan out that schedule to make sure that you can transfer in the link that you would like to transfer and make the decision from there. Someone specifically asked about getting into your dream college, like should I still transfer? If you got into your dream college already, I don't think it's worth going to community college and transferring because there is no guarantee that you'll get into your dream college again as a transfer student. I do feel like I missed out on a lot because I was a transfer student, so I wouldn't recommend it, but it is up to you. I think if you have a very strong reason for wanting to go to community college, like you literally can't afford that dream college that you want to go to, then it's a different story, but for most cases, you should just go to your dream college. Did you feel like you lost a lot on the whole experience of college? Did you feel lonely in community college? How did you make friends at a new school? I don't feel like okay, my college experience, I think I got very lucky with all of the friendships that I made. When I was in community college, I made a lot of friends from my classes. I wasn't actually intending to make that many friends, but it just happened. I think friends are really important when you're in college, not just community college, you know, like labs, sharing homework, stuff like that. Some of the people I met, they've carried me through classes. I know I'm rambling a little bit, but I wanted to emphasize it's very important to make friends if you do go to community college. Make friends at TA sessions, wherever. Just make friends, especially your classmates. Community college is so small, you're gonna be seeing the same people over and over again, especially in your major, so naturally it's not too hard to make friends, assuming you aren't just going home after class. By the way, I don't think you should do that. I think you should stay on campus. I also stayed on campus all the time. I never really went home. I stayed there the whole day. I would go to class, and in my gaps, I would go hang out in the STEM center, and that's usually where all the TAs were, like hosting their tutoring sessions, and all of my classmates would always be there. And then eventually, a lot of people just started going there to chill, and so that's how I made friends. I didn't feel lonely at all in community college. If anything, I felt like I had a better support system there. I really love my friends from community college. So as for whether or not I lost out on the experience of college, I did miss out on a lot of things, but I don't feel sad or bad that I missed out, if that makes sense. I also was in college during COVID, so my second half of sophomore year and my entire junior year was completely online. I did miss a lot, but I am very happy with my experience still. I don't experience any FOMO when it comes to that, so that is how I feel. But I do know some people who went to UCLA directly and they have just experienced a lot more things than I have. That is something I'm okay with. But if that's something you're not okay with, then maybe community college is not the option for you. When I was a high school senior, I was really sad that I would miss out on college and like the freshman dorm experience, but I did not end up missing that at all because of the friendships I made in community college, and I was just really happy at community college. So I think it's what you make out of it. Okay, so some people also asked if it's easy to transfer, and some people are scared to transfer and being stuck there, which are completely valid questions and worries. I answered this question already in a comment, but is it easy to transfer? I answered with, I want to say yes if you're a California student, because there are so many programs that are just set up for you that make it easy to transfer. There's UC Tag, which is a guaranteed spot at a UC school of your choice. Not every college offers tag for every major, but you know, it's a very good safety net. So for example, I tagged to Davis for computer science, and I didn't get into Davis for computer science out of high school, so that was literally good enough for me. Honestly, in high school, when I went to community college, I didn't think I would get into UCLA or anything. I was literally just planning to go to my tag school, Davis, and study computer science there, but I think somewhere along the way I realized the path to getting to a school like UCLA is pretty simple as a transfer student. That's why I also share a lot of advice online, because I want people to realize how simple it is. It's not easy, but it is simple and there's a direct path. You won't get stuck if you plan your classes well. Like I said earlier, plan out your classes for your major for literally every college you're thinking about going to. Make a master list, plan it out, schedule it. I'd never trust a counselor because I felt like my counselors never scheduled my thing well. Like they always are like, no, you shouldn't take that many classes. But then if I didn't, then I couldn't transfer in 2 years. You know, always take counselors' advice with a grain of salt. Never trust anyone. Do your own research, okay? Not even me. So some people also commented like, oh, you shouldn't do this if you're a STEM student because it's hard to transfer in 2 years, or like, you know, keep in mind the downsides because some classes won't transfer over. Like I said, if you plan well, it is doable. I am a STEM student. I studied CS, math, and physics, and it took me 2 years. So it's doable. I don't want people to be scared because they think they can't do it. Just pick good professors, do things that you enjoy, and it'll be okay. I also didn't take any classes that did not transfer over. Do sanity checks every single semester to make sure you're not missing a class. Okay, so someone also asked me on Instagram, not a question about community college, to do a video on how to stay motivated or to help procrastination and self-doubt. I'm going to answer this here because I think it is related to community college as well, and you know, school. I'm not going to do a whole video on it because I don't have that much advice, but what helps me a lot in community college was having a very clear goal and having a very clear path on how to get to that goal. My goal was UCLA, and my path was to finish honors, apply with TAP, apply with math or computation, maintain GPA, stay involved in my extracurriculars, and write good essays. And that was it. I think in general, having a clear path to a clear goal is what keeps you going. And eventually, if you're consistent with it, that motivation will just turn into discipline. And discipline is much more sustainable than motivation. When it comes to work, I don't really know how to answer that. I'm not that motivated when it comes to work. I kind of just do it, and you know, that's it. I would say my motivation for work is like playing games after 5 o'clock. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have that much advice. Something I forgot to add was money. This is a huge reason why people transfer, and I forgot to mention it. I graduated debt-free. I believe I paid about $1,000 a semester when I was at community college, but there are programs that let you have free tuition. At my community college, we had this thing called Promise Scholars. I just didn't know about it because I signed up for community college pretty late, so I couldn't join anymore. That program gave free tuition for up to 3 years and free textbooks. I might be wrong. It might just be like a lot of financial aid, but I'm pretty sure it's free tuition. There's that. UCLA was like $15,000 a year just for tuition, not even including housing. So that's the first thing I wanted to mention. Second thing is, how did I get all my CC classes? It is packed. You should be in at least one program that gives you priority registration. Honors transfer program gave me priority registration, so you don't even need to be involved in the program. You literally just have to apply and you'll most likely be accepted. You can get free priority registration that way, so that is very important as well. Yeah, those are the most common questions that I got. This video is 35 minutes long, so I'm going to stop here. I'm gonna edit it down a lot. If you have more questions, I would like you to please check my other videos first, because I have shared literally every piece of knowledge I know about community college online. My other videos are kind of old, but the advice is still there. I have timestamps in all my videos too, so you don't need to listen to the whole thing. You can just figure out where your question is. But if you have have a very specific question, you can DM me. I prefer Discord because I am terrible at responding to people on my phone, but on my computer I'm a lot more consistent. So you can message me on Discord. If you message me on Instagram or TikTok, there is no guarantee that I will respond, but Discord I will respond most of the time. Like 90% of the time I will respond. In one of my videos, I also made a 2-year plan, like a roadmap for a community college. I will put that link here again in the description. Also paste all of my videos in the description. Yeah, that is all. I haven't done a Q&A in so long. I've never even talked about how I feel about work in a Q&A, but I feel like people don't care enough unless I'm like giving advice. But let me know. Audio might be whack. It's my first time using it, so we'll see if I actually ended up using this audio. But oh, my necklace was messed up the whole time. That's okay. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe if my advice helped you out, and also follow me on my social media platforms. That feels really weird to say because I never say that. Okay, I mean this video is long. Not many of you will make it this far. Bye bye. I hope it was helpful. Good luck.